नमस्कार, मैं हूं सुशील भारती। आप देख रहे हैं अपना खास प्रोग्राम रूबरू।
आज हमारे साथ जो मेहमान है वो बहुत ही खास है।
तो चलिए चलते हैं और जानते हैं कि उनका ये सफर कहाँ से और किस तरीके से शुरू हुआ।
I think men in our country should be the protectors.
मेरे को पता है कि सिंगर में सिर्फ स्टेज पे हूँ।
मेरा काम है डायरेक्टर के विजन को आगे बढ़ाना।
अपनी फायर को अंदर मरने मत दीजिए।
हर किसी को ऐसे ट्रीट किया जाए जैसे आप खुद ट्रीट होना चाहते हैं। बड़ों की इज्जत करिए और परमात्मा से डर के रहिए।
हर आर्टिस्ट यही चाहता है कि उसके काम को सराहना मिले, एक पहचान मिले।
Always believe in yourself. प्यार करो, प्यार बंटो।
That was one dream that I grew up with कि काश मुझे एक बार बस अमिताभ बच्चन सामने से मिल जाए।
मैं बचपन से अपने आप को सिल्वर स्क्रीन पे देखना चाहती थी।
आगे बढ़ने का और कोई तरीका नहीं है, लगातार काम करो, बिना रुके काम करो। रुक गए थक जाओ।
Welcome viewers, my name is Vardhan Singh and you're watching MSTV. The show is Rubaroo and today we have with us Mr. Abdul Dewale Mohammed, the president of AASGON in India. He's the founding president, he's the president right now. He is here in India, so we thought that it's a great opportunity to talk to him about how the association of the universities and all the SDGs out there given by the UN can be implemented, and what exactly are the ways with which they'll be actually implemented rather than just talking about them and creating a fuss about them. So let's go to him and understand what are the things that he's doing and what are the things that we can do to make this world a better one. Hello and welcome, Mr.
How are you? Thank you.
Great.
United States to Travel Flag of America in Washington, D.C. to see if what I was doing is in line with what they're doing. And I think they were very impressed with the little I've achieved as my organization in Nigeria with, certain orphanage. And when I located to Africa, to UK, first is that my children and my wife had already gone to England. I never expected I would live in England because I was very, okay supporting children with my orphanage in Africa, Nigeria particularly. But if I tell you the way I had to leave Nigeria, because it's a long story, because now today Nigeria has been, we have what is called this issue of, they won't call it religious war, but we have Boko Haram in the northern part of Nigeria, which has been on. I think it was in 20, we're now in 2024, I mean 2009 or 2000, year 2000. Before 2000, I organized something in the north because the northern part of Nigeria and the western part and the southern part, there's a difference when you talk about education. And so we have a large number of young children in northern part who are just roaming the street. They do Arabic, but they're not in the modern education. And I saw that itself is not good for balancing for Nigeria. So I came up with what is called Arewa Education Economic Development Trust. But that idea I brought forward led me to having to, I would say not run out of Nigeria, but to escape for my own life because I had to abandon properties. I know a lot of things just to get out of Kaduna, particularly. But that's a long story. It will come during when I write my autobiography. And eventually, I had to join my family in England. And ever since then, I set up also the first African charity organization in the Westminster in London. I had very large shops. I took about 5 shops, which I set up one music studio, a charity shop, a training computer center, and I had one also, which was hairdressers, And then part of a school they gave to me, I was training ex-offenders on loan parents, refugees on plumbing, electrical paint, decorating. But unfortunately, some people were not happy with this, I would say, this black chap having achieved this much. And then they cut funding because I have raised almost close to £50 million supporting children in my life. But however, in 2010, I realized that nobody cares about children all over the world. I have gone around and I've seen, and then something came to my mind that the only thing that can change society, particularly Africa, because Africa is so rich, so endowed, but the issue is about policy. So I felt if we have good policies, society, that continent would be great. So then something took me to, I think before even that, they were very happy what they were in, with what happened in London, Westminster, another local authority in Swill. They were interested in what I did in London, so they said, "Oh, why don't you come and do the same thing for us?" So I said, "No problem. Give me £240,000. Let me start something for you." They said they don't have money. I did everything. They gave me an office right in the government's office and everything. But at the end of the day, what happened? I was doing the best that I could help develop that community, but unfortunately, some people were not really happy. Whether it's my color, whether it's my person, I don't know. But I believe one thing. Sometimes people hurt you and you think they hurt you. I can tell you, but because you're human, you wouldn't know. It's to strengthen you because the best of man comes when there's a challenge. So when people say challenges, you see, because what we live is not our life. The fact that you're able to do something is because it's destined that you have to do it. But if you think it's a man or a person that make you, that's the mistakes most of us make because we're destined. So all you have to know, challenges is the best time for anybody, mommy. So I had my challenges, and then somebody took me straight to 1955 when I was born. And it was this Asia Africa conference. I'm sure if I ask you about Bandung, you probably would not know. Do you know about the Asia Africa conference in 1955? Because the universities failed to enlighten and educate the young people.
Right.
That people like leaders of Jawahar Nehru, Nasser of Egypt, Nkrumah of Ghana, and quite the India, the China leadership of China, they all came together in Bandung, Indonesia. So that apart from being colonized by the West, they want economic freedom also. So there are STEM principles they make up. So I was lucky to be able to see that, and I said, hang on, I'm going to follow this. But to do it was going to be a great task because most of the failure of most of us, we always put money first. And money adds distort a lot of people from achieving their dreams. So the first thing you have to think about, and I always say to tell people, for instance, if you send a proposal to government or to universities, they look at the proposal and they ask you, where's the money? But because either they're lazy or they're less innovative, they could have probably looked at the idea because idea creates money. It's idea that creates money. Money doesn't create itself. It's idea. So rather than look at the proposal and look at those who are possible to benefit from the idea, they will be asking, where's the money? And that's why a lot of great ideas, they go into the bin because we do not have the patience, the understanding to say, look, proposal itself is big capital. So however, I took on the Asia Africa Conference in 1955. So I started with Africa Asia Scholars Global Network, which is AASGON. So I believe that the first thing I need to do is to build relationship, which is lacking even in the United Nations. Relationship is what you build because society that we have, we don't trust each other. And so we have to build trust to understand each other and be able to appreciate each other. So, and also to have empathy. So, however, I knew it was going to be a long, long, long ride. But fortunately for me, we had the 46th conference of we did the 46th anniversary of the Africa Union. And where I live in Medway in England, we have 4 universities in one place. We have Greenwich University, Medway University, Christchurch University, and we have another university. I also have University of Creative Arts, which I'm glad that Dr. Marwah was there. He was my guest, Medway, which I took him to all this university, including University of Kent, which I visited, including University of Creative Arts. So I then realized that the importance here, and fortunately, why I'm coming to that, because that was when the journey started, 2010, 2011. I then, fortunately, as history will be, when this actually issue started from Bandung, Indonesia, I had the ambassador of Indonesia came with 4-page paper at my first event. And it says government should support the kind of idea that I've created. And also, as nature, fate will be, End of that same 2011, I was in 4 cities in Indonesia. I was in Jakarta. I was in Bandung. Even in Bandung, where they had a conference in 1955, I was able to talk. I had a speech with people there. And I can tell you, I'm very emotional. I cried because our leaders came there in 1955, April 1955. They tried to see how we can develop the developing countries, but unfortunately, we're not connected. We're not doing, and I cried because it was so unfortunate. That was there 2011, in December 2011 in Bandung. So Jakarta, Bandung, Bali, and also Jogja. I was there. So I was able to know a bit more about where the history started in 1955. And then the next thing that happened in 2012, there's this university called Brawijaya University in Indonesia. So they invited me to come and see how we can help to create what we call entrepreneurship university. And the idea I gave them, Obama was in power then, so I thought I could bring Michelle Obama to come over there so that I could get a lot of horror to actually see people that can assist to help universities to become entrepreneur, but unfortunately the universities saw that was too big an idea for them to do. So, but then in February 2012, last year 2012, I was invited by the World Energy Forum in New York for me to represent the whole of UK, 10 countries in South Asia and Africa for the World Energy Forum in Dubai. And I felt, oh my God, this is the greatest job that I could get. So all things I said, no, I have got the best job in the world. So I was just a consultant, which means I'm going to spend my money on everything. And at the end of the day, I get whatever results I achieve, I can make some money. But that was the money was my own part. The fact that I was trusted meant a lot to me. So they informed the Dubai government that I was coming, that is from New York. And I got to the meeting, and one of the excellencies said, oh, we have invited 200, we have sent 200 invitation letters to presidents across the world. And I said, excuse me, His Excellency, you have sent 200 invitation letters to presidents across the world for this conference? I said, but I've just left UK. I met your ambassador. And your ambassador, I told him what to do. What I told the ambassador was, I said, then it was my king now, Prince Charles. He was then Prince Charles. So I said, Mr. Ambassador, I wanted to invite Prince Charles and all the important people here. Let's have a cocktail reception. Let's invite all of them to Dubai. Because I believe that with that strategy will work. Right. But the ambassador said, oh, excuse me, I don't even know about this conference. But if the government says, of course, he has to follow what the government wants. But if the government says, let me do it, I'll do it. So I said, oh, that's fantastic. I said, okay. Then when I got to Dubai, they already expected me. And the excellency can tell me that 200 to the president. So I said, I just let my country, England, and your ambassador doesn't know about this. He wasn't happy about that. But then he said, the president of the World Energy Forum says this in New York. You are saying this. I say, His Excellency, I admire your leadership. All I'm saying is that I said, I admire your leadership. Years back, you were one of the poorest in the world. Today, you're the richest country. I said, all I want, let's have the best conference ever held in the world.
And how did he react over that?
That's what I'm saying now. That's what I'm saying. I said, when he said that, fortunately for me, I was smart enough. And I said, His Excellency, I said, I admire. I said, when he said, because how can a person in that position say, we invited 20 presidents across the world, and this man is saying, your ambassador doesn't even know your conference. Your own ambassador of your country doesn't know, and you have sent me there to 20 presidents.
Right.
So I said, His Excellency, all I'm saying is, you were one of the. I said, I'm very, very pleased with your leadership. I'm very amazing about kind of leadership you have. But however, all I'm saying is, you were one of a very poorest country in the world. Today, you're one of the richest country. That's all I'm saying here. Let's have the best conference ever held. Believe you me, all the 5 points I raised on the table, approved. And at Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, 12th of July 2012, right there, we had the conference, we had the event, and it was very successful. And I'm very happy that at least that is a great contribution I did. That was 19th of July 2012. That's 12 years ago, over 12 years ago. So after that, and then what happened after that was almost 7 times every year, I travel out of the UK. Almost 7 times. Going to Africa, Arab, Asia. What was I doing? To build relationships. in building that relationship that I became in Malaysia, I think I spoke for the Association of Arab Universities, where I spoke in Malaysia 2012. So ever since then, I've been very much involved with the Association of Arab Universities. Just last week, Monday to Wednesday, we had the 17th conference in Bhopal, which I am still appointed again to be on the advisory board of that organization, and we have, and also I have the Association of Arab University. No, I have that happen in Thailand in 2015. What's it called? In 2015, it was at the conference of the AUAP in Thailand, and I then sent an idea.
What's this AUAP?
Association of University of Asia Pacific.
Okay.
So I then threw out my idea to the whole conference, and they all supported it. I said, why don't we try and bring all Africa, Arab, Asia countries together so that we can be able to develop either policy or structures of what sort of education relate to us? Because most of the developing countries, the education we give our young people are meant for the West. They are not for all developing countries. Right. So I felt if we can come together, we can do that. So this idea started 2015. And that's about 8 years ago. 2015 now is about 9 years ago.
So Dewale, sorry to
Yes,
interrupt, but I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
You mentioned about that why can't we bring the Asian countries and the Africans together? There is an understanding in India which happened, not in India, in the whole world, that the problems happening in the Asian subcontinent and in Africa was never being considered as something which will affect the whole world. The situations, the COVID, the pandemic, it took its height when it reached Europe and US. Before that, Ebola and other diseases were there. And at the same time, I'm talking about like Boko Haram and all the atrocities which is there in African subcontinent, this whole region, was never considered to be a world's problem. It was never given that pedestal that every country on the face of earth should work collectively for that. Why do you think this whole idea is there? Why do we need to bring down Asian subcontinent and African and the Middle East and why do we need to do that?
Thank you for your question. I think first, what I've grown in my life is there's certain things we think we're dealing with rather than dealing with the fundamental problems. And so we move away. Our minds has been shifted to things that will never get us to achieve, but rather to look at the fundamental problem. And that's what I deal with. And if you don't deal with the fundamental problem on the ground, we are just going to be scratching the surface and we're not going to achieve.
If you give me an example of any fundamental problem that you thought of.
That's why I'm giving my story. Because if you want to change the system, you need to establish a structure.
Okay.
Because we all like to complain. And I've said to people, don't complain if you don't have solution. Because we're used to nothing done.
Right.
I give you an example also. I ask people who are 50, 60, 70, 80. And I ask them, when you were younger, I presume the world was better than now. Nobody says no. They all agree that life was better when they were younger than now. And when they say that to me, I say, guess what? You are part of the problem. Because you are 50, you are 60, 70, and you say life was better when you were younger. What have you contributed? I say, you are part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, however, I've said, you might have great idea, but you need to create a structure that understands the kind of idea you're trying to bring. And that structure must be based on trust. If it's not based on trust, it's going to pack up like pack of cards. Like I always say, the UN wasn't established under trust. Because there is a young man with his satire, George Orwell. He did a book called The Animal Farm, 1945. Believe you me, that's the life. Some animals are more. That's the life we still live to today. So you ask yourself, if somebody has foreseen what the world will be in 80 years, UN will be next year. Yet, I'll give you an example. When because I'm a signatory to United Nations Global Compact, and the last report I wrote, 2022, before the last, and the one I've written to the UN, I've complained on several times that we're not going to get anywhere with this SDGs. SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Every university across the world, SDGs, but they never question United Nations. And I have said it because the answer, I don't just say anything. Because, example, we had MDGs 2000 millennium to 2015. In 2013, the UN got my prime minister then, David Cameron, and the nation president, Liberian president, and they met in Bali. Finally, that was in May 13 of May 2013 somehow. And they all agreed in two things. And I believe it 100%. They said renew global partnership, people-centered policies.
Okay.
That is, if 2015 come and the UN has to give a scorecard, what do we do for a sustainable development goals, which was an idea of Dr. The former Secretary of United Nations, Kofi Annan. You know, and then it was like, what do we do? So we were expecting that the UN would now use partnership because God has created us to work together. That's partnership, and we're not. I can tell you today, people go and say, "Oh, we're working a partner." I can tell you, everybody goes there. What can I get? Not what can I contribute?
Right. What's in it for me?
Because they're scared, even of their own shadow. They're scared about it. Talk less about. So they're scared of if I give them an idea, I'm not sure that they would not even take my funding. I'm getting blocked the way I'm getting funded. So everybody comes there to grab rather than to put in.
But Mr. Dewale, isn't it a reality? Because just in the starting of this whole thing, you mentioned that your fundings were being cut just because you were doing some great stuff out there. Some people got scared or something, or they got upset due to any reason. So isn't it a reality just because of what people don't want to contribute? Don't we need to work for that?
That's why I said to you that, you see, the university, we have some education.
Okay.
We have some, but we lack wisdom.
Okay. How?
Now, let me ask a question straight. If I offer you $3 billion, $3 billion, or $1 trillion,
okay,
and I say, could you close your nose and mouth just for 2-3 minutes? Which one would you take?
But am I allowed to breathe through my mouth?
No. I say your mouth and your nose. You don't be too smart. You can't even breathe with here, so just your nose and your mouth.
I understand where we are going.
No,
I'm not able. I understand. Okay, you want an answer? Let me answer this for you. I won't be able, even if I want to, I won't be able to opt for those 330 or any trillion money because I won't be able to survive without oxygen.
Thank you. No, you can breathe. So, if that's the case, and we know, why can't education teach people that the fact that you can breathe, you mate?
Right.
So now, people, how can you say, I don't want $1 trillion because I need to breathe, and then you call yourself poor? So our head has been twisted about money rather than by your person. So we're no longer humane in our behaviors or attitudes. There is not about, life is about building character, your personality, not how much you got. So we work on that level, and that's the way we grow. Let me say how this all happened. They also say treat every child differently.
Okay.
Why? Because some child are autistic, some cannot memorize easily, so they treat them differently. But then I ask a big question: why do you set the same exam for all children?
Exactly. Then we need to
Now,
examine.
no. There is a system that is dealing with all of us, and we're totally out of. The fact there is that because they know that at least 1/3 of that team will fail, and that team is what they've decided will be their cooks, their drivers, their whatever, their cooks and their drivers or gardeners.
All the house help.
And not that those guys are not creative or intelligent, but that because they can't memorize, so you've grouped some people. So you've taken a large workforce away from the system to create poverty. Now, another thing which is the problem is this. And I will tell you even the answer, how this can be done. Like, quickly, let me say that. Why, if you go into the laboratory to say, okay, let's turn larva to pupa, pupa to butterfly, you do in the chemistry biology lab, you always work together as a group. And I don't see why our exams too cannot be done in groups. Because what you set for children is they have to compete against each other. And so some cannot tell their parents that I'm a failure. So, and some will not want to be seen as inferior in class.
Right.
So what they do? Tell me what they do. They start to cheat in classroom. cheat at exams. And now you have different designs of cheating now in classrooms in exams. Different designs, they do it. So,
and then that becomes the character of the person.
Yeah, God bless you. And that is why you find that some become very fraudulent as they grow up in life. This is as a norm. There's nothing wrong about it. And then that's how we created institutional corruption.
Right.
So, and I always say something: no child was born to be a vagabond. No child was born to be a prostitute. No child was born to be a miscreant. It's society that turned them to what they are, and society suffers what it creates.
Right.
That's why we build billions to create prisons. We spend billions to fight cybercrime. It's the people that we develop.
The kind of mentality, the kind of character we develop.
Yeah. So until we go back to the drawing table to say, okay, and let me also say one thing. Every child God brought to this world is wealthy, is a hobby. When I talk to university students, I say, look, you're graduating, right?
Yeah.
I said, but what I will advise you, because there's something you do every day. Right from child, you've been doing it. It's your hobby. You just love doing it.
Right.
I said, go back to it and develop it because that's your wealth. God has created that. But let me answer example as an answer. You know, in kindergarten, you have sports. And when they have that, they always have a coach.
Right.
And up to you go professional, you have a coach. If you go and sample some children who have been in sports from childhood, at 14, 15, they are well developed. They are exposed to society. They have more wisdom because they've mixed up around. But the question is this: not every child loves sports.
Right.
So what did we do for those ones? We don't do nothing. Our job is to support, to see the hobbies of children and help them based on that. Not to say, oh, this one must be a doctor, this one must be a lawyer, this one must be this. In what system are you talking about? God has given that child a hobby because your hobby never stresses you. So because you have to survive, you have to pay your bills, you have to take care of family. So sometimes most people have lost that because it's about a fear of survival. But your life is not yours. We are all walking corpses.
Right.
Whatever billions your bill is not yours. You're going to live it. You know how many bills out there that live 200 years? And they may never live more than 100 years.
Right.
The answers are there. So why don't you educate people to understand nature? That's why I say you take children to nature all the time, they will probably understand. Even look at a hand. How does a hand knows and they follow each other? They know how to go around maneuver. They have brains. How can you try to see your hand has a brain? You know. So if we're close to nature, we start to understand what created us. But rather we behave as if we're this, and these are problems that we have. And now, however, rather than talking, I'm telling you solution we are doing.
Actually, that was my last question. I just wanted to know the solution.
No, go on.
Let me add
Yes.
something to it so that I'll be able to get the right answer that I want. Mr. Dewale, all I need to understand is that, okay, we got the sustainable development goals, SDGs were there, which is given by UN for some reason. Education. Each and every country, each and every board under which the students are learning, and I'm talking about the primary education, not this college education or university level education. What are the very basic necessities that needs to be inculcated into every children's curriculum or their whole lifestyle that would bring this change that we're talking about here?
Yeah, you see, I've been working with universities, and I will always say God because over the last 9 years, after I brought the idea up in Thailand in 2015 with the AUAP, practically I have the support of all the associations of universities in developing countries. Not associations of universities.
In the developing
I remember August last year at the Association of Arab Universities in Amman, Jordan. We inaugurated a steering committee of what I call the Global South University Association. And I also remember, I think in May, before then, in Gymkhana Club here in India, we had a pre-cocktail, dinner, which Dr. Sandy Marwah was also there. So we had that to prepare people's minds about what we're setting up, because what we're trying to do is to bring our universities together. And ever since within that year, we've been able to now look at professionals, because you see, the global south is what we deal with, because the global south, the divide between the global south and the north continues to widen. Even when you mentioned about COVID, similar thing had happened, that it becomes wider, and then with artificial intelligence becoming much wider. But our job as an organization, which is the only organization probably I would say in the world that is trying to reduce, to divide that divide. I'll take example. When in 2018, the World Economic Forum said the world is fractured, what we did as an organization, we found an answer to why. And how can we rebuild the bricks of our fractured world? Three things. Three things. One, to review international rule of law. That's number one. To review international rule of law. So when we start to review, that is, what are laws that actually negates, that is unfair to people, particularly the less privileged. So we need to start reviewing that. I can pick one for you. I'll pick one straight away. Labor laws. Let me give you an example. Almost everywhere in the world, if somebody come out of university and he borrows money to graduate, and when he comes out of university, then he has to probably go 20, 30, 40 times to look for a job. Every time he's going there, he needs to look good. So he borrows money. Transport, he borrows money. And then eventually, he has to also give 3 references or 2, which means to be able to have, to confirm that they can get to reach the person if there's any issue or whatever. That's the essence of that. So then when you get the job, 6 months down the line, you become fired without any excuse.
Right.
6 months. And then when that happens, and that happened a lot, because you give yourself, the person says, sorry, you can't fit in 6 months, they have no excuse, you go. So what we're saying is this. And remember also, the person works for 30 days before he gets a pay.
Right.
So he has to go and borrow more money. Oh my God. End of the day, is a debtor, is in debt. So, but what we're saying is this, and it's going to change. If you've taken the reference of such a person, you've seen the character and the personality of that person, and say, this one is good for your business, as a businessman, why don't you just give him 10, 15% upfront? Because first of all, that will look after the transport. Secondly, that might be able to offset some of his debts. And not most importantly, he'll be able to give himself more than somebody who just looking at 30 days, got to borrow money. His mind is just out to borrow out. So I can be very productive. Okay. But if you give him that with money, which he has never been given money, which is not a debt, it's a natural thing. That's what I say. So basically, there are many things we got wrong, because I used to say our elders years back, we failed generations. My own generation has failed our children. Even whatever I'm doing now is not going to change in my lifetime. We are planting a new seed. Now, when we talk about even review international rule of law, the second I give you, look at example of what is happening in Israel. The whole world says, Israel stop the war. You know what he was saying? Israel said, go to hell. No, that just tell you the law is broken completely internationally. Let's be honest with ourselves. Then we go to the extent of the second one. We need to restore the value of parenting and teaching. Parenting, morals are gone down. Teaching, gone down. And yet, what children are you bringing up? What children are you bringing up? And when I say that we don't care about children all over the world, it's because everybody says, I have to look after my child. It's not our child. Your child is going to live in a community. Right. And if you don't look after that community, you don't love your child. At the end of the day, he has to suffer. You don't love your child because your child is going to go out there. Right. So that's why I said we are twisted. Our brains are twisted and we're not following the right thing. Right. So these are the common problem that creates the great problem we have. And the third one is an African adage. Right. African adage. It says, it takes a village to raise a child, not a family. I have heard of this. Every child born in a community, everybody should surround and support that mother, because that child can mess up society, at the same time can make society great. So all of us should support that child growth. And if you say, what's my problem? The woman messed her life up, the husband, excuse me, society made him the way he is. Because society has failed. We failed as a society to raise someone, to give someone the opportunities to write knowledge. So what we are doing is that we're going to come down to the nursery, the primary school. But first of all, we have the universities, and now that we're also creating professional bodies across the global south, because there's a lot of in the global south, there is no synergy or whatever around. So that's why we're creating structures. So in House of Lords next year, which is July 4th, we already planning now to have the GSU Global South Investors Association to be registered, and about a year ago, for 24 weeks for 24 weeks we're holding weekly webinars. We bring experts from across the world to come and understand who we are, not to come and talk, because we talk a lot. Conferences that we do, billions have been spent that could look after the whole state. And what happened in universities is like, come to my party, I come to yours. We pick up a topic, a theme this year. Check every university, check even World Economic Forum. They pick up a theme this year. Then look at how people are thinking, maybe the UN and all whatnot. They pick another theme next year. The following year, pick another theme. But mind you, they brought experts from different parts to come and speak at that conference. But they don't have a structure to process those information and be able to see how they can turn it into policies that the government will abide with. So there's nobody to deal with those ideas. They just put the document and start thinking again. So what we did, rather than put the cart before the horse, what we did was, for 24 weeks, we bring experts. We tell them exactly the movement we're working on, and then we say, what value can you bring in? So through that, we've been able to get at least about 100 of them across the world that can become members of the think tank. And so also, as we launch the Global South University Association, we're going to launch the Global South Research, Innovation, Peace and Technology for Sustainable Development, which is called G-Z. Now, within the process,
Mr. Dewale, just a question. Is it something which is for the universities only or for the students there? I mean, as an individual student, somebody wants to join this. Is there any way through?
No, first of all, is that because we are association for all association of universities.
Understood.
So the universities already, because we're dealing with people that manage the universities, people that develop policies for universities, so that the students can benefit.
Do we have a vertical for that as well? Because at the end of the day, the one who's been affected are the students. If they don't have a say or a representative as a part of that whole association, I'm talking about that. So are we thinking of that as well?
Well, the point is that we can look at the student youth group of, you see, because we're not dealing with individual university.
Understood.
They have, let me give you, for instance, India Association India University, because at Bhopal, I was with the president of the Association of India Universities, same as Dr. Pankaj, who is the secretary of the Association of Universities. I've been to our office here. So, and the aspect is that they have an association of large members. India has, even is the fourth association across the world that has association of universities. So what we're saying is that association, they'll have to, because they have criteria within the university that feed into that association. The association fits into the Global South. So the Global South, maybe we have conferences, training will be going on for each of the associations. Association will now pick those who would like to attend that, what we're doing, that will impact on them and impacts on the children, on the youth students.
That's where the student comes in.
Yeah, of course. We have to, not only that, what we're talking about, 21st, oh my God, the universities. I was talking to the founder of the first American university in China, Shongshen, and just about in October, he was made president of the International Asian University Presidents, in Beijing. So I was talking to him when we went to Bangkok recently, and I said, Sean, you got fantastic buildings around university in China. What are you going to do with all these buildings? Because education has become inexpensive. How much was the professor wants to teach now that it's not on internet? Not only that, the curriculum we have now, most of them are going to fit in when the robots have to do everything. Even talk to Alexa. Alexa will tell you so many things. And we have robots walking across in America on the streets. We have drone delivering pizza.
Right.
So things are changing. So most of the university, we have a lot to work with them to ensure that we can start giving the right education. And like I told you before, morals. Because morals is very important. If you lose your soul, why to get the whole world? What's the point of losing your soul and you say you get the whole world? So these are things we need to look at. That's why I said we are planting a new seed. And if you have to do it, it has taken me 14 years. To get university together is taking me 9 years. Not that I've got them since 2015, but I felt what changes, what value can we bring in? So that's what took us to a lot of things, thinking about the setting up the research center, thinking about setting up professional bodies, like we have Global South engineers, Global South farmers, Global South architects, Global South, what's it called? Global South Science and Technology, so that these bodies are set up and they can work with the university to develop curriculum that fits in. Because at the end of the day, I even said, when we set this up, I've said it, most of our lecturers, all over the university, I could say all over the world, the composition of the universities is that 15% of our lecturers are very, very creative, innovative. But guess what? They've become consultants to United Nations, to banks, to government, to this. So they exploit the university. They only just come and sit there. They are consulted outside, being paid out there, big. And then another 15% of our lecturers, they have envy of those people because they have connection. They are also very creative, but they don't have that connection for there. So that's 30%. But I can tell you, sir, not less than 50% of our lecturers are waiting for their pension. So how can such people bring out vibrant young people? So we're going to make sure, if you are a consultant, you don't need to work in university at all. If you are working in university, we give you everything you need, but you're not going to be a consultant outside.
Right.
You have to face and support the student and build a society. We're also going to try and say that if you go to university, you spend 4 or 5 years, you already know that community. You know the businesses, the problems, or whatever in that society. Because we always say that students, you go out in a community, go and ask problems in that community, come back to the university, find out what are solutions. And if you do that, let us know your solution. We will find sponsors because businesses are looking for ideas.
Right.
And that's why some of them don't believe that universities are creative. They see universities are not innovative. That's why they just pick the most ones among them and work there as consultants. As they're going working, holistically with the universities. So these are issues then. So if you don't have people who are committed, and also we are going to make sure that if you're a university lecturer, you should also take time to go and work outside. Because most of our students, when they come out of university, they face another world completely because they are going to another work environment they don't know. Because you are a lecturer, you have never worked before. So you only textbook reach whatever you give them. But out there is a new, totally different world. And another thing in our curriculum, if you train people and you get graduates, you never teach them about managing people. How can they set up businesses? If you don't know how many people, you can't set up business because human being, management is the most important thing. So you need to also teach them. So if you're a pharmacist, you also taught how to manage people, so that you don't just rely to go and work in the pharmacy or you also can now set up your own and get somebody that you can manage, that you know how people think, how people really relate to things. These are the ways. So that's why I said the education they're giving us right there is for the West. So we need to look at our common problem. That's why they came together in Bandung in 1955. That
And
we should
that's
come
where we
together
got
and find and imagine the government. They do even already Indonesia, which was the host in 1955. They're already planning the 70th anniversary, April next year.
Okay.
But most of the universities, students, civil society don't even know. That's what we started.
They're not aware about.
That's what we started 14 years ago.
Great. That's great. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Mr. Dewale, for coming down to Marwah Studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine. And when I'm saying this, that for all of the things that you're doing, because the last question that I asked, that where exactly is the representation of those students, those who are there at, I mean, they'll be the receiving end. They'll be the one affected by that. By each and every program that we're going to start with the associations of universities all across the globe. The one thing that I want to congratulate you for is that at the end of the day, when all those things will going to actually fall at the right places, it will be a beneficial thing for not only just for us, for the current generation, but for the coming generations as well. That's what I believe. So thank you so much once again.
I always say one thing. Anything you think about, always think first in how do I sustain it?
Right.
Sustainability is very important. And let me also use this opportunity to thank Dr. Sandeep Marwah for this honor of being here. And also the fact that we've been together for quite a while. He's very much played a very important role in the kind of movement that we are doing in an organization. He's been to UK where I received him as I hosted him.
Right.
You know, so and whenever he comes there, he's always getting us informed. You know, so I'm glad to be here. I'll be around for a while. Maybe we'll need to talk more so
Great.
that we can be able to. All we're doing is, you see, there are people better than me who are very humane, but they have been frustrated out of the system. Please, we want them to come
With their ideas
and
and
let
do
us
something
work
good.
together.
Right.
Together, there's
Partnership.
nothing impossible.
Yes.
But the point is that, and people say, oh, don't tell somebody about your ideas. Because they can sell your idea, they can do this. Why do you do that? How do you know that that person can be able to ensure? So when you close your idea to your chest, is that so? Which means you don't trust the God that creates you. You never know when the person passes. And people you think are taking your idea, they cannot win with it. And people that think you hurt you or whatever, they only make you stronger. So why are you scared?
Right.
This is society. We need to change our attitude. We need to change our behaviors, and that's the only way. We need to work together, trust each other, and believe there is something out there. As long as your heart is good. And one other thing I'll say lastly, sir, when you wake up in the morning, the prayer we should all be doing is for God. Anybody that comes around us, for us to put smile on their face. And why I say this is because you are looking for somebody to put smile on your face. How dare you not then first think about could you put a smile? And I said earlier, you know how much it costs to go to the hospital and pass oxygen, how much it costs. But look at us all breathing. So you got something. So we continue to want to take. Life is give and take. You don't want to give and you want to take. We need to change that attitude.
Right. We need
You
to
go
give
to bed, if you didn't supposed to put a smile on the face, ask that the following day, whoever comes, God give you the strength, the wisdom, whether it's funds, whether it's wisdom, advice, that you put smile on somebody's face. Because that is when you two will see enormous smiles
Great.
on your face. Thank
So
you
at
very
this
much.
note, we'll wrap this interview up.
bless you.
Hope we'll have a whole conversation again. Thank you.
Thank
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. God bless you.